If two people have both experienced a failed marriage and have children from previous relationships, and they do not have children together, and each has separate assets acquired before marriage, should they sign a prenuptial agreement before entering into marriage? If they live together, how should they share finances in daily life? Both parties have high incomes. Welcome to the Love Strategist, where we don't talk about love with impulsive emotions, but with strategic thinking. Today, I want to talk about a very special kind of love. Not loud, not dreamy. No more naive promises of our early 20s. This is the love of those who have already walked through a broken marriage. When two people who have stepped out of a failed marriage decide to enter a second one, they do not walk in with inexperienced hearts. They walk in with experience, enough to understand that marriage is not just about emotions. Wounds, enough to know how painful loss can be. Responsibility, not only to themselves, but to the children behind them. And especially, children from previous relationships. This is no longer just a love story between two people. It is the intersection of two family systems, two small cultures, two financial structures, two parenting styles, two histories of trauma. And when assets are already in place, when both have stable careers, when both have high incomes, when each person has already built their own independent world, the question is no longer, how much do we love each other? But rather, how well do we manage risk? Because at this stage of life, love is not enough. Attraction is not enough. Strong emotions are not enough. What determines the success of a second marriage is not the peak of emotion, but the structure you build from the very beginning. A second marriage is not a dream. It is a strategic decision. And if you are standing at this choice, remember one thing. Mature love does not avoid the truth. It looks directly at risk and designs a system to protect both the heart and the assets. That is the spirit of the Love Strategist. Should you sign a prenuptial agreement? In this situation, not signing one is the real risk. The risk is not in preparation. The risk lies in avoiding preparation. A prenuptial agreement is not a declaration of distrust. It is a declaration of maturity. Someone who has never experienced divorce may think signing before marriage sounds cold. But someone who has been divorced understands something very different. Emotions can change. The law does not. Look at reality, not through emotion, but through strategic thinking. Both individuals have assets built before the marriage. Both have children from previous relationships whose rights must be protected. Both have already experienced a loss, not only emotional, but legal and financial. When you have once signed divorce papers, you understand a truth that outsiders do not see. Divorce does not only hurt the heart, it hurts the bank account. It hurts when assets are divided. It hurts when years of accumulation suddenly have to be recalculated from zero. And because you have lived through that, you no longer want to love naively. You want to love with structure. What does a prenup actually do? Clearly separates premarital assets, protects the legal rights of children from previous relationships, reduces the subconscious fear of losing everything a second time, prevents finances from becoming a weapon during conflict. Remember a core principle of mature marriage. Love should not carry the responsibility of protecting assets. The legal system should do that. When you force love to carry too many functions, emotion, commitment, and financial insurance, you place enormous pressure on something that is naturally fragile. Those who have been divorced often carry a silent wound. It is not that they are pessimistic. They simply fear repeating the same mistake. They fear sitting across from a lawyer one more time. They fear having to explain to their children that everything has changed again. They fear the feeling of losing control. A prenup does not weaken love. It removes ambiguity. It reduces subconscious anxiety. It creates a sense of safety. And when people feel safe, they love more deeply. When financial fear disappears, they become softer emotionally. A prenup is not a wall separating two people. It is the concrete foundation beneath a glass house. The house remains transparent, still filled with light, but no longer shaking when the storm comes. When living together, how should finances be structured? Both individuals earn high incomes. So the question here is not, who supports whom? It is not, Who depends on whom? When both are successful, financially independent, and fully capable of supporting their own lives, power does not lie in money. Power lies in structure. The real issue is, what financial structure preserves long-term respect? Because in a second marriage, especially when both partners are strong and independent, the greatest danger is not a lack of money. It is the loss of fairness. I do not recommend merging all assets completely. And I say this not from pessimism. I say it from understanding human nature. When two people do not share children together, but each has children from previous relationships, no matter how deeply they love each other, there remains a very deep instinct within human psychology. The instinct to protect one's own child. This is not selfishness. It is biology. It is parental responsibility. You can share a life. You can share emotions. You can share a home. But when it comes to your child's rights and future, each person becomes very clear-headed. And this instinct is powerful. It is stronger than romance, stronger than promises, stronger than temporary generosity. If all assets are completely merged, if boundaries are unclear, then during sensitive moments, such as making major investment decisions, purchasing property and deciding whose name is on the title, drafting a will, providing financial support to children from previous relationships, silent questions will arise. Will this affect my child's future? Am I trading my child's security for present emotion? And when these questions are not addressed from the beginning through transparent structure, they gradually create psychological defense. Defense creates distance. Distance creates suspicion. Suspicion erodes respect. A marriage between two high-income individuals does not require dependency. It requires clarity, because when both are strong, neither wants to feel weakened. No one wants to feel they must ask permission about their own money. And no one wants to feel that their child's future could be affected by unclear decisions. A strong financial structure does not divide two people. It allows both to feel safe, respected, not threatened. And when people feel safe, they stop defending. When they stop defending, they can love freely. So the question is not, should we combine money or not? The question is, how do we design a system where neither person has to silently protect their own interests? A mature marriage is not built on total fusion. It is built on connection between two individuals who maintain healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries do not weaken love. They make respect sustainable. Now let's talk about solutions. Not emotional solutions, but structured solutions. In my experience advising high-income couples entering a second marriage, the most optimal model is the 3-account model. 1 joint account, 2 separate accounts. It sounds simple, but that simplicity is exactly what creates sustainability. 1, the joint account, the space of us. The joint account is not for merging all assets. It is a symbol of partnership. This account is used for housing, shared travel, daily living expenses, family activities, plans built together. It represents shared life, shared experiences, shared moments. Contributions can be 50-50 if incomes are similar, or proportional to income if there is a difference. The key is not the number, the key is agreement. When both contribute transparently, there is no feeling of who is carrying more, who is benefiting more. There is only, we are building this together. 2 separate accounts, the space of me. This is extremely important in a second marriage. Separate accounts are used for children from previous relationships, personal investments, individual asset planning, responsibilities toward one's original family. And let me emphasize this clearly. Keeping separate accounts is not secrecy. It is autonomy. When someone can provide for their child without excessive explanation, when someone can invest according to their personal strategy, when someone can fulfill responsibilities toward their parents, they do not feel controlled. And when people do not feel controlled, they do not need to defend themselves. What does this model create? It creates 3 critical psychological pillars. 1, freedom. Each person maintains their financial identity. No one is dissolved. No one is dependent. 2, transparency. All shared expenses are clear. No ambiguity. No silent suspicion. 3, no one feels a loss of control. This is decisive in marriages between successful individuals. High-income individuals are accustomed to directing their own lives. If they feel financial control slipping within marriage, tension quietly begins to grow. But when the structure is designed clearly from the beginning, money stops being a sensitive territory. It becomes a tool. A mature marriage is not two people dissolving into one. It is two strong individuals choosing to stand side by side. The three-account model allows: we are united but not dissolved. We are connected yet independent. We love without losing autonomy. And that is the long-term foundation of a sustainable second marriage. The greatest danger is not money. The greatest danger is the feeling of unfairness. Those who have been divorced are highly sensitive to lack of fairness, lack of transparency, lack of clarity. Without a clear structure, the following questions quietly begin to surface. Will this money affect my child's rights? If something goes wrong, will I lose everything? Am I repeating the same mistake again? And if these questions remain unspoken, that they will slowly erode love from the inside. What does a second marriage require? If a first marriage often begins with intense emotion, a second marriage begins with clarity. It is no longer the story of first heartbeats. It is no longer love and then marry. It is no longer a leap of blind faith. A second marriage is not built on emotional intensity, because those who have experienced heartbreak understand one thing: emotions can be very real, but they are not enough to sustain a long-term system. A second marriage rests on three pillars: systemization, managerial thinking, transparency. Systemization. A mature relationship requires structure. Who is responsible for what? How do finances operate? What are the boundaries with extended families? How are children from previous relationships prioritized? How is long-term asset planning designed? Without a system, everything depends on mood. And when mood changes, order changes. Structure does not make love cold. Structure prevents love from collapsing under pressure. 2. Managerial thinking. Someone who has been divorced does not enter marriage with pure romance alone. They enter with risk management thinking. Management does not mean suspicion. Management means planning before problems arise, agreeing before conflict appears, clarifying before misunderstanding begins. A second marriage is the merging of two financial systems, two parenting systems, two value systems. Without managerial thinking, every friction point becomes a crisis. 3. Transparency. Transparency is the foundation of psychological safety. When money is clear, when assets are clear, when expectations are clear, there is no room for silent suspicion. And remember, in a second marriage, doubt does not need to be dramatic. Even something small, if prolonged, will erode respect. Now let me ask a very practical question. Successful people in business always have contracts. They always have clauses. They always define responsibilities. They always prepare contingency plans. So why in marriage, a project far greater than any business deal, would you avoid structure? In a business venture, you may lose money. In marriage, you may lose time, assets, your children's stability, your belief in love. A second marriage is not a place to test luck. It is a place to build a system strong enough to protect what took you years to rebuild. Mature love does not fear structure. Only immature love believes structure kills romance. The truth is, structure does not destroy love. Structure allows love to survive. Wishing you success.